Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Life Group meeting here on Wednesday night. I'm here live from my office. I know we had a kids program on Sunday, which was awesome, by the way. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it very much. I thought Professor Bibelhofer was hilarious, and the point that Sister Nolan and the team there made was excellent. I got lots of compliments from a lot of people saying it was a great program. So well done to everyone that was involved in that. But to dive deeper into that would be to do a cooking show or something. And so I thought maybe to allow our life group leaders a chance to have a discussion of their own, perhaps prayer, talk about the future of the church. And I have a thought that I will leave you with, and it'll begin with some announcements. Okay, starting Monday of this week, the day after we had church, the mandate for masks has come to Illinois. I think there's about 7 states having mask mandates, indoor, things like that. There's some caution that many of you are having to take because of work. Or because, just your own high risk, your personal high risk. And it's a very emotional subject. It's a very touchy subject in that people have wildly opposing opinions of masks and of the health benefits or not, or lack of benefits. Different kinds of masks have different kinds of whatever. Is it good for kids? Is it emotionally, affecting children at school? I think there was an article that recently went out that said that people are now going to homeschool their children because it's emotionally and socially better for them to be homeschooled. What a switch, Years ago, the argument against homeschooling was that kids get a better social and better emotional attention, I suppose, if they go to school and meet other friends. Well, now that's kind of shifting because of social distancing and because of masks. So you've got one side that believes that, and the other side that says, what's the point of getting everybody sick? Kids are carriers, and this thing is real. The Delta variant now is sweeping the nation. Many churches are being shut down because everybody's sick. And so, and then you've got the fact that the devil and the government and the powers that want to destroy, the good of America and the church have made this a political thing. And, many of us, fallen into the trap of that. So let me just speak on that, and we'll go, have our Bible studies tonight. So the mask mandate is that we have to wear masks indoors. So this is what my position is going to be. And I think that everyone will be, I think this will be good for everyone. And that is when you're in the foyer, when you walk in and when you walk out, when you go to the bathroom, you wear a mask. When you're at your seat, you do not have to wear a mask. So it's like a restaurant because, coronavirus doesn't bother you while you're eating. Coronavirus doesn't bother you while you're praying or worshiping either. We're going to space out the pews. That was a joke for those of you paying attention. We'll space out. We're going to take out one row and add a little more space so that your droplets will fall short of the next person in front of you or behind you or whatever. And that you lift your head up and worship the Lord and not have to worry about wearing a mask is fine with me. However, when you're at the front praying, you want to lay hands on people. Make sure you have hand sanitizer, clean hands, that kind of thing. I want you to wear a mask when you're praying around the altar. We will maybe get some covers for our microphones as well. So there's some things that will make a little change here and there, but we're not going to shut our church down. And I certainly don't want to make everybody wear a mask the entire time. That seems to be it's not necessary, and that might be against the mandate. I hope not. I don't think it is, because I know that restaurants you have to wear masks in restaurants, and they're not mandating that you wear them while you're eating. And so I feel that if you're sitting there socially distanced and you're not going to get up, and you know no one's going to get up to be near you, that if you need to pull your mask down, you may do so. But if we're going to be in a crowded area like the foyer, if you get up to go to the bathroom and you're passing people on your way, if you come up to pray, certainly if you come up to the altar to pray, you need clean hands and a mask. So that's just for now. We'll see how things play out. There's been a few churches that have had some outbreaks, and it's discouraging to have to shut down for that reason. So we're going to take a little more precaution. But I just want to touch on that. Now, this is just me being a pastor here about this subject. I want to read Romans chapter 13, which is really the crux of all of the political dilemmas. And then I also want to read to you a paper or a sermon that was written, that was transcribed by Martin Luther King Jr. on the subject of communism. And let's first read the scriptures first. So Romans 13, if you have a Bible, grab it. Romans chapter 13, we'll just read the first few verses. This is the chapter that sort of is like your duty to the state, your duty as a citizen of a state or a nation. We are subject to the magistrates. We are to be a certain type of citizen. And so let's read about the duties that, Paul is writing, mind you, to the church in Rome. I believe Rome is the people that cut his head off, right? So the government was a little bit more like anti-Christian than ours, okay? So here's what he writes. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there's no power but of God. I'm going to translate that, make it a little bit easier for you to understand. Nobody has authority outside of God's delegation. The President of the United States is not the President of the United States because we have elected him in power. Many would argue that the election was rigged. By who? Every election is rigged. Every authority in the world is rigged by God. God is not taken by surprise. The Bible says he puts people in power and he takes them down, but he never loses power. He is the one who has all power. Remember what Jesus said after the resurrection. He said, all power in heaven and in earth is given unto me. Authority, power, Jesus has it all. So he delegates it, okay? Behold, I'll give you power. After that, the Holy Ghost will come upon you. You get a portion of his power by having the Spirit in you. So there's authority and power that is all of God. There's no power outside of God. The powers that are ordained, so the powers that exist are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, okay? I keep hearing this like, we're part of this resistance. We're part of this resistance. You need to be careful on how far you take that. That's my advice to you today, because of what I'm about to read. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. That's pretty clear right there, okay? Read verse 2 over and over in different translations tonight. Study it. Talk about it. Verse 3 says, for the rulers are not a terror to good works. So they're not really, trying to strike fear so that you do good works, but unto the evil. So wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. The government will like you better if you obey. For he, being the government, is a minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is a minister of God, a revenger, to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil, that breaks the law. Wherefore you must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay you tribute also. This is why we pay taxes. Nobody argues that taxes are a part of a free nation. Nobody argues that when you walk into a store, back in the day, it used to be no shoes, no shirt, no service. I won't sell you anything if you don't have a shirt on. I won't sell you. You can't come into 7-Eleven without your shoes on. We've had a lot of people stepping on stuff and they sue us later because we had things on the floor. Put your shoes on. That's a new policy. Okay, well, here we have a pandemic. People say you can't come in here without wearing a mask. And everyone's feeling like, their rights are being taken away from them. Or they want to study how, masks are not healthy or whatever. Now, I didn't get the vaccine. I'm not really a fan. Is it the mark of the beast? No, heavens no. It's not the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is a mark that you worship the system of the beast. Is it a forerunner? Is it a test run? Is it going to be similar to this kind of forcing it upon you? I think so. It's global. It's something that is being mandated. Yes, all of it smells like the New World Order is testing things out. So there's a lot of conspiracies and a lot of things floating around. But let me put it in perspective, guys. We have to be spiritual about these things. We have to understand spiritual things and make things more spiritual than they are natural or physical. God is not an American. God is not a Democrat or a Republican. God is the creator of the ends of the earth. He created principalities and powers. And far above all of that is the church. We are to be above all of this. I am governed by nobody but God. God is the citizenship I have is of heaven. And God is not voted in. He's God, right? So let's look at his word. His word says, be careful not to obey, or be careful if you're not obeying in rebellion to the powers that be, because they are ordained of God. This is why you pay tribute or taxes to your nation. It says, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom is due, fear or respect to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe to no man anything, but to love one another. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. I wish I had time. I would talk about how we need to submit and how love is a part of submission and submission is a part of love, and how we are to fulfill the law and understand the fulfillment of the law cannot be made or done without love. All right, so I don't want to keep this too long. So now there's another concept, another aspect of all of this that has in the undertone of what the 3 Hebrew men and Daniel and everybody in the book of Daniel went through when Babylon started pushing their religious mandates that came from the government. So when religion and government starts coming together, the end is near. The book of Daniel, for reference, is a type and shadow of the end time. Okay, Babylon and the city and the government, the way it was run, Nebuchadnezzar in that day, was a type and shadow of the Antichrist New World Order system. Okay, so now when religion becomes a part of the government, again, and it's Antichrist, we are nearing the end times. That is happening in our world today. Okay, you say how? I say with communism. Let me give you just this. These are Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, okay? He quotes Amos 5:24. Let judgment run down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. Okay, few issues demand a more thorough and sober discussion than what is presented by communism. For at least 3 reasons, every Christian minister should feel obligated to speak to his people on this controversial theme of communism, okay? This is Martin Luther King Jr. telling me to talk to you about communism. The first reason recognizes the widespread influence of communism that communism has, like a mighty tidal wave spread through Russia, China, Eastern Europe, and now even to our own hemisphere. Nearly 1 billion of the peoples of the world believe in its teachings, many of them embracing it as a new religion to which they have surrendered completely. Such a force cannot be ignored. The second reason is that communism is the only serious rival to Christianity. Such great world religions such as Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Mohammedanism, or Islam are possible alternatives to Christianity, but none none that has the hard facts of the modern world that will deny that no one would deny that communism is Christianity's most formidable rival. I'll speak on that in a second. Why is it a rival to Christianity? The third reason is that it is unfair and certainly unscientific to condemn a system before we know what that system teaches and why it is wrong. So let's talk about it. Okay, let's be clear. The basic premise of this whole teaching of Martin Luther King Jr. and what I'm trying to say is that communism and Christianity are fundamentally incompatible. They are not, you cannot exist in both. We as Christians cannot fully be Christian in a communist society. We cannot. I'll explain why if you don't know already. A true Christian, he goes on to say, cannot be a true communist. The two philosophies are antithetical and of all the dialects and logicians cannot reconcile them together. Why is this true? First, communism is based on a materialistic and a humanistic view of life and history. According to communist theory, matter, not mind or spirit, speaks the last word in the universe. Not mind or spirit, but matter. Such a philosophy is avowedly secularistic and anti-theistic. So atheistic. So this atheist philosophy of communism, it says that God is merely a figment of your imagination. God and religion in general is a product of fear and ignorance, and the church is an invention of rulers to control the masses. So in the spirit of communism, the church will be diminished. In the spirit of communism, like humanism, it thrives on this grand illusion that man, unaided by any divine power, can save himself and usher in this new society that is a higher society than anything prior to it. Communism will feign itself as a superior way of life, and by definition, the philosophy of communism is a religion that has no God. The God of communism is self. But that's just on the outside. Deep down in communism is that it impoverishes its subjects. It has never worked. The economy, fascism, is where America is headed, where elites and the global, corporations are going to run the country and all that. We're not there yet. Communism has not come to America yet, but everybody wants to talk about it. And I'm done with Martin Luther King Jr.'s words. He's got this 5-page thing here that says cold atheism wrapped in the garments of materialism is what communism provides, and it provides no place for God and no place for Christ. And so, therefore, by definition, there's no place for Christians in a government that's communist. So whatever you want to name it, the New World Order, communism, whatever, it's heavily government controlled and it's a religion. It is satanic at its core. Why do I say that? Because Satan has been trying to rule in this world for a long time, and the only thing standing in his way is the church. And so whenever government gets mixed in with philosophies that are religious and satanic, communism is going to be the result. And communism is very government controlled. So whenever you have mask mandates, or whenever you have government pushed, government mandated or pushed on our freedoms, as so to speak, issues, and they blame the pandemic, so then people will think, well, the pandemic was planned. And so all of these things are just, all of it. What is behind it all? It's a resistance to communism. It's a resistance to Satan's New World Order that he's trying to bring into America. So what do we do as Christians? That's the point of all of this. I hope I'm not offending anybody. I didn't really prepare for anything. I was just going to give you a couple announcements and then let you be on your way. And I thought, no, let me read the scriptures. Romans 13 is a very, very strong. Now, it's out of the Bible. This is not Martin Luther King Jr. This is Bible. This is Paul writing to the church in Rome, which I believe is the city where he lost his head, literally, by the government. They threw him in jail because he was just, Paul went to jail for casting a devil out of a woman. Paul was beaten. The apostles were beaten for preaching and teaching good things. Jesus Christ, the philosophies and the teachings of Jesus are good. Now, in our country, we don't get beaten. We don't get our heads cut off. It's not happening like that. I spoke to a man recently who came from the former Yugoslavia under communist rule. He told me everyone is so scared that socialism is coming to America. This is not a socialist country. He said there's no way we're going to end up in communism. Are we headed in that direction? It seems to be that there might be a direction, going in that direction, but we're far away from it. That's what he told me. He began to tell me what was like living in communism. we're very concerned that we're heading that direction. But in your concern and in your fighting for the rights and freedoms that we have as Americans, I'm not saying you should not do it, but should we prioritize everything that we do, to be labeled as somebody that's resisting, the government? I'm not so sure that's the position I'm willing to take. In our home, we're very conservative. Everybody knows my wife posts things against communism all the time online, and I want her to keep doing that because people need to be aware. People need to be awake. And I believe Facebook is probably the platform for it for now. They're not cutting her off all the time. So it's the platform for that kind of thing. But when you meet people and when you're trying to win their soul and when you're trying to represent Jesus Christ, I want you to take caution and read over Romans 13 and decide, what would Jesus do? What does Jesus really want me to do in this moment? What does love say? What does submitting to one another say? What does kindness, what does Christian character say? Remember that Jesus did not mix his words with the religious leaders of his day. Why? Because religion and government were meeting. And it wasn't Christianity. It wasn't a theocracy. It wasn't what we are going to have when Jesus reigns as the king of the world. That's coming, but that's not here right now. And so left to ourselves, because the spirit world is real, anyone who is atheist, anyone who is antichrist, anyone who is not really sold out to Jesus Christ and given over to Christianity completely will probably be swept into this movement that is very heavily government controlled, very environmentally focused, and very health focused, when at its very core, it's satanic and it's very deceptive and very deceitful. And so as Christians, do we talk about it? Do we want to talk about it? I say that we do, but also let's discuss it. Where do we stand on these issues being pushed on us by the government? I'm telling you right now, I'm going to tell you right now, it is driven by a satanic antichrist regime. It certainly is. It's been around since John wrote his book to the churches in 1st and 2nd and 3rd John. It's been in the world. He said there are many antichrists. The spirit of the antichrist is already at work in the earth, okay? It was at work in Cain. It was at work in Nimrod. It was at work in the pharaohs. It was at work in the 1940s with Hitler. It was at work with Saddam Hussein. It's at work now. It's still here. It's been around for a while. It's not going away. It's going to get more intense. But where is our position on that? What do we do? Are we to fight against it? Are we to rise up with guns and our signs and picket the streets? What is the best thing that we can do as Christians to represent the nation that we are the citizen of, which is their citizenship that is in heaven? To me, this pandemic is not a farce. It's not fake. It's not phony. The disease is real. Many of you can say amen to that. You've been sick. I have been sick. I know that there really is a virus out there. So we know that's true. It is contagious. It is infectious. You can pass it on by shaking someone's hand, by breathing. It's airborne. So we have to be cautious. I'm using a whole lot more caution than I ever have before. It's almost like offensive to sneeze in public. Every time I sneeze, I have to tell somebody, I'm not sick, or just dust. So it's changed. Our world is unrecognizable from when it was 18 months ago because of this pandemic 2 years ago. So let me remind us that we're not just Americans. Yes, vote. Yes, we are a free nation for now. We need to, cling to those freedoms. However, we are to be Christians. We are the people of whom the end of the world has come. Jesus Christ is coming back very soon. You can feel it. You know it's true. It is more real now than it ever was, and anyone ever preached it before. It is more real now than ever it was before. Paul thought he was going to be alive when the rapture happened. No doubt all the disciples were shocked that they all had to be martyred. There was no guarantee. They thought the end was coming. It was urgent back then. It's been urgent ever since. I understand the urgency is just normal, but I'm telling you that Jesus Christ is coming back, I believe, in our lifetime. And if so, I don't want to be caught sitting in the street, promoting an agenda that has nothing to do with God, that is very self-driven. I want to promote Jesus Christ. I want to tell the world that there are three things he is. There are three things that he has done in the New Testament. He's our propitiation. He was our substitutional sacrifice for your sin. There's something to that. The finished work of Calvary, the thing that Calvary and the Lamb of God did. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about reconciliation, because he has reconciled me to so many other people and to God, the things that I needed reconciliation and I needed redemption. And if we understand that Jesus Christ is our propitiation, our reconciliation, and our redemption, there's something more powerful to talk about. I'm done. I'm sorry. I didn't want to preach to you. It actually went way longer than I thought. But I love you, and I want us to talk about those things. And maybe tonight just read Romans 13 again with your group. Discuss it. What do you think? How do you feel about this? What have you heard? These are the scenarios and the settings that I want you, to have, and you talk about it. All right. I love you guys. See you on Sunday.